respond to my letter and provided useful information on the Brambell family and some very handy links and tips. Earlier, I mentioned that I'd lost an interview with Joan Reddin. Also lost on the same device were chats with Anna Karen, Phil Davis, Eric Chappell, and Nicky Henson. Nicky was a lovely guy and famously played undercover policeman Mr. Johnson in the classic The Psychiatrist episode of Fawlty Towers, a role he claimed he would be most remembered for, despite an impressive body of work on TV and stage. Nicky sent me a recording of Wilfrid singing on stage in Canterbury Tales and several theatre programmes, and was a genuinely lovely man who lost his long battle with cancer in 2019. I had initially wanted to write Harry H. Corbett's biography as well, and I would like to think my attempts to convince his daughter Susanna to allow me to do so resulted in her finally writing her own biography on her father, which is, of course, hard to top. My inquiries led me to meet Simon and Malcolm Blott. Malcolm is the brother of Maureen Corbett, who was married to Harry. Simon is Malcolm's son. It was Simon who helped me contact Susanna, and then Malcolm, the latter recounting an invaluable view from the Corbett family, particularly Harry's thoughts on his on-screen father and Malcolm's own observations and occasional first-hand experience of meeting with Wilfrid at events or after filming episodes of Steptoe Son. Many thanks to both Simon and Malcolm, who didn't have to help me, but were only too happy to. One thing that has astounded me during the writing of this book is the number of people who didn't just give their time, but went out of their way to help me find other people associated with Wilfrid. I'll begin with director Tony Palmer, who worked with Wilfrid on the BBC production of Alice in Wonderland, A Hard Day's Night, and 200 Motels. Tony's recollections were priceless. But the fact he also introduced and arranged an interview with legendary movie director Richard Lester really is more than I could have hoped for. Richard's memory of A Hard Day's Night is lucid and fascinating, and it was a pleasure to speak to him. Graham McCann is a brilliant author and documenter of British comedy, and his meticulously researched article on Wilfrid's 1961 courtroom appearance and the difficulties he faced at that time is quite superb. Generously, Graham was happy for me to use quotes from the original feature he wrote on comedy.co.uk. Many thanks, Graham. Then there is the quite brilliant John Lloyd, producer and creator of some of Britain's best comedy shows, including the legendary Not the 9 O'Clock News, Blackadder, QI, and a long list of many other fantastic programmes. John worked briefly with Wilfrid, but his memory of that short time is fantastic, and he helped me acquire quotes from Richard Curtis and Vernon Lawrence as well. John is a very busy man, and didn't have to help out, but was only too happy to. When I was restarting this biography after a 9-year hiatus, the first response to an interview request I had was from Joanna Lumley, whose memory of appearing on Steptoe Son was delightful. It put the wind in my sails at exactly the right moment. Another beautiful actress proved difficult to track down, but eventually I managed to get hold of Carolyn Seymour, who played Zita, Harry's stripper wife in the first Steptoe Son movie. Carolyn's recollections of filming are quite harrowing, and she reveals her thoughts on what she describes as an awful experience. Find out why later in this book. Continuing the theme, Anita Gillette is a Hollywood movie star who has appeared with anyone who is anyone. She sang with Barbra Streisand, made pictures with Richard Gere and Jennifer Lopez, among many, many others, and appeared in the ill-fated Broadway musical Kelly. Anita gives a stateside perspective of Wilfrid's time in America, as well as the reasons Kelly flopped in such grand style. The list goes on. John Lydon. If I could have had an icon of punk and British music for so long introduce this book, it would have been a genuine thrill for me. And the fact that he would perhaps have been the unlikeliest writer of a forward imaginable would have made it all the more satisfying. For several weeks it looked likely to happen, but an exhausting UK tour and his wife's ill health meant that the timings just weren't right. Anne-Marie Malik, now Anne-Marie Huckstep, was cast alongside Wilfrid in the BBC Christmas interpretation of Alice in Wonderland. I have Tony Palmer again and LinkedIn to thank for tracing an actress who appeared just the once on screen more than 50 years ago. Popular character actor